There is a hard truth most people learn too late. The people who damage your life the most are not always the loudest enemies, the obvious traitors, or the strangers who openly hate you. Sometimes, the most dangerous people are the ones who smile at you in public, speak to you in a calm voice, then leave you questioning your worth in private. They don't need to destroy your reputation overnight. They don't even need to win the argument. They only need to get inside your head and stay there. And once they do, the damage continues long after the conversation ends. That is the part nobody warns you about. Not the insult. Not the passive-aggressive comment. Not the condescending laugh. Not the little public disrespect disguised as just being honest. The real damage begins when you go home with it. When you replay the moment in the shower. When you rewrite the conversation in bed. When you think of the perfect response in the middle of the night. When your body has already left the room, but your mind is still trapped in it. If you have ever done that, then you already know this video is not really about toxic people. It is about how they colonize your inner world. It is about how fake, manipulative people survive by making you emotionally available to their chaos. And it is about how Stoicism gives you a way out that is far more powerful than revenge. Stay with me, because near the end, I want to show you the mistake most people make when they think they are being strong with toxic people, but are actually feeding them. And once you see it, you will never look at emotional manipulation the same way again. Because the Stoics understood something brutal about human nature. Some people do not want resolution. They want access. Access to your attention, your peace, your reactions, your nervous system. Marcus Aurelius knew this. Seneca knew this. Epictetus knew this. These were not men hiding from life in peaceful gardens, giving soft advice from a safe distance. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire while betrayals circled him daily. Epictetus lived as a slave. Seneca survived one of the most dangerous courts in history. These men were not unfamiliar with difficult people. They were surrounded by them. And what they discovered is as relevant now as it was 2,000 years ago. Toxic people do not become powerful because they are brilliant. They become powerful because most people never learn where the real battlefield is. We think the battle is the conversation. We think the battle is the argument. We think the battle is what they said, what they implied, how unfair it was, how disrespectful it felt. But that is only the opening move. The real battle begins after. After they leave. After the text is sent. After the meeting ends. After the family dinner is over. After everybody else moves on and you don't. That is why one of the deepest lines in Stoicism still cuts through modern life with surgical precision. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Once you really understand that, everything changes. Because then you stop trying to win in the wrong arena. You stop trying to control their tone, their character, their honesty, their envy, their pettiness, their lies, their projections. You stop trying to force clarity out of people who benefit from confusion. You stop begging maturity from people who gain power by keeping relationships emotionally unstable. This is what the Stoics called the dichotomy of control, and it sounds almost too simple until you actually try to live it. There are things that belong to you, and things that do not. Your thoughts, your choices, your standards, your responses, your values, your self-command, those belong to you. Their behavior does not. Their mood does not. Their mask does not. Their hidden resentment does not. Their twisted interpretation of you does not. And yet most people spend years exhausting themselves over what was never theirs to carry. That is how fake social games work. Machiavelli understood this part of society with ruthless clarity. In every court, every workplace, every social circle, every family system, there are people who operate through emotional leverage. They test where your ego is weak. They study what gets a reaction. They look for insecurity, the need to be understood, the need to be liked, the need to correct the record, the need to prove you are not what they imply. Then they touch exactly that spot. Not because they are deep. Because they are strategic. The modern world just made this easier for them. Now they can provoke you with a glance in a meeting, a comment in a group chat, silence after a message, a fake compliment, a backhanded joke in front of others, a public concern that is really a private attack. They know most people don't break from one dramatic betrayal. They break from 1,000 tiny cuts to dignity. You know this if you have ever sat in your car after work for 10 extra minutes, not because you were busy, but because you needed your nervous system to calm down before going inside. You know this if one person's energy can ruin your whole day. You know this if somebody speaks to you for 30 seconds, and somehow you are the one carrying the emotional residue for the next 6 hours. Now here is where Stoicism stops being comforting and starts becoming dangerous. Dangerous, not for you. Dangerous for anyone who expected your mind to remain available for occupation. Because the Stoic response is not emotional collapse. It is not loud revenge either. It is something much more unsettling to manipulative people. It is calm. Not weakness. Not numbness. Not cold performance. Calm. And there is a difference between calm and cold that many people never learn. Cold is a wall. Calm is a center. Cold says, I'm hurt, so I'm shutting down. Calm says, you do not get to enter here. That difference matters because fake people know how to weaponize your extremes. They know how to use your anger against you. They know how to use your pain against you. They know how to provoke a reaction, then point to your reaction as proof that you are unstable, difficult, emotional, oversensitive, or the real problem. That is one of the oldest tricks in the book. First they wound you. Then they study the bleeding. Then they blame you for being hurt. Epictetus said people are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them. That does not mean abuse is imaginary. It means their words only continue living inside you if you keep building a home for them there. Someone calls you worthless. That is a sound. Someone mocks you in public. That is a display of their character. Someone tries to humiliate you. That is a confession of who they are. The second you absorb it as truth, the poison begins working. But let me be very clear here, because this is where weak interpretations of Stoicism create more suffering. Stoicism is not passive. Stoicism is not silent surrender. Stoicism is not standing there while someone keeps tearing pieces off your dignity and calling that discipline. Marcus Aurelius commanded armies. Cato stood up to Caesar. The Stoics were not teaching people to romanticize abuse. They were teaching people to act from strength instead of reacting from injury. And sometimes strength looks like saying nothing. But sometimes strength looks like leaving. Sometimes it looks like refusing access. Sometimes it looks like ending the conversation early. Sometimes it looks like not explaining yourself a fifth time to someone who misunderstood you perfectly the first four. Sometimes it looks like a boundary so clean, so unemotional, and so final that it leaves no room for performance. That is not cruelty. That is clarity. And clarity is one of the rarest forms of mercy you can give yourself. Because one of the most painful things adults do is keep loving the fantasy version of someone long after reality has made itself obvious. We wait for the apology that never comes. We keep hoping the disrespect was accidental. We keep trying to return to the version of them we met in the beginning. Or worse, the version we invented because we needed them to be good. This is where amor fati becomes brutally useful. Love of fate does not mean loving pain. It means accepting reality without decorating it. It means saying, this is who they are. Not who they were on their best day. Not who they pretend to be in public. Not who I wish they were. Not who they promised they would become. This is who they are now. And once you see clearly, you stop negotiating with evidence. That is where freedom begins. You do not have to hate them. You do not have to destroy them. You do not even have to explain your departure in a way they agree with. You just have to stop lying to yourself. Another Stoic tool that becomes powerful here is what Marcus Aurelius practiced as the view from above. He would zoom out mentally until the problem in front of him looked small against time, mortality, and history. Try that now. Picture the person who keeps draining you. Now step back. Will this moment matter in 10 years? Will their opinion define the arc of your life? Will this passive-aggressive remark matter when your children remember how present you were? When your health changes? When your time gets shorter? When life asks whether you lived fully or merely stayed emotionally entangled with small people? This perspective does not minimize pain. It restores proportion. And most toxic people lose their false grandeur the second you stop standing too close to them. That is another illusion Machiavelli would have recognized instantly. Many people are not strong, they are simply amplified by your attention. They look powerful because your imagination keeps kneeling before them. You rehearse them. You study them. You carry them. You grant them psychic rent they never earned. But take your attention back, and suddenly they shrink. Epictetus, a man who had almost nothing the world respects, understood this better than most free men do now. He knew that even if someone could control his conditions, they could not own his mind unless he surrendered it. And that is still the highest form of power available to you. Not domination. Not noise. Not scoring points. Inner non-cooperation. So what does this look like in real life? It looks like letting a baiting comment die in the air instead of chasing it. It looks like not over-explaining yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you. It looks like hearing a manipulative story and refusing to audition for the role they wrote for you. It looks like saying no without turning the word into a speech. It looks like not defending your worth to someone whose whole game depends on making you defend it. It looks like protecting your peace as if it were an asset, because it is. And this is where memento mori cuts through all the social theater. Remember, you will die. Harsh? Maybe. But clarifying? Completely. Because the older you get, the more insulting wasted emotional energy begins to feel. Every hour you spend replaying a manipulative person's behavior is an hour of your actual life being burned for someone who probably is not even thinking about you at all. Your life is not a rehearsal. The people stealing your mental space today will not matter in your final moments. What will matter is whether you were present enough to live, wise enough to detach, and strong enough to stop handing your peace to people who never respected it. So no, the Stoic way to deal with toxic people is not revenge. It is not humiliating them back. It is not winning the performance. It is not becoming colder, meaner, or more theatrical than they are. It is refusing to be diminished. It is deciding that your character, your calm, your attention, your standards, and your inner world belong to you again. It is realizing that the greatest insult to a manipulative person is not your anger. It is your indifference. Not fake indifference. Not wounded silence. Real indifference. The kind that comes from seeing clearly. The kind that no longer needs to be understood by them. The kind that no longer applies for permission to leave. That is why they hate it. Not because it punishes them. Because it removes their access. And in a society built on performance, guilt, emotional leverage, and carefully managed appearances, nothing is more disruptive than a person who can no longer be psychologically recruited into fake drama. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. So maybe the toxic people in your life are not just wounds. Maybe they are training. Maybe they are the pressure that reveals where your mind is still too available, where your ego is still too reactive, where your peace is still too negotiable. Use that knowledge. Not to become cruel. Not to become paranoid. But to become ungovernable by small people. And if this message found you at the right time, then let me leave you with one question. Who in your life still has access to your mind long after they have lost the right to be there? That question might change more than this video.